What's up guys, it's Scott here and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. If you're looking to roleplay a new character with some of the best mods available in Skyrim, you've come to the right place because we have a brand new modded build to share with you guys, utilizing some amazing immersive and role-playing enhancing mods. This is the Acrobat. You may wonder how an Acrobat managed to make his mark on the war-torn province of Skyrim, but it just so happens that his knife-juggling performer's skills perfectly translate to make him the ultimate thief and an absolute killer with a dagger in each hand. With unrivaled dexterity and agility, the Acrobat can outmaneuver any foe, zipping across the battlefield, running rings around his targets, and going for the kill as his dizzy enemies look in awe. We made the Acrobat possible with 5 mods. These mods include the Imperious Races of Skyrim mod, which adds some truly unique qualities to each of the races, the Aurora Standing Stones of Skyrim, which means each standing stone has its own benefits rather than one being vastly superior to the others. I'm looking at you, Atronach Stone. Then we have the Alternate Start mod, allowing us to roleplay a backstory that doesn't end in the typical vanilla Caught on the Border introduction. There's the Immersive Armors mod for the stylish aesthetic, and finally there's the Ordinator perk overhaul, which takes the Acrobat's 4 main skills and breathes new life into them, giving us a playstyle that truly represents the abilities a professional Acrobat would have in Skyrim. The links to all of these mods can be found just below in the description, along with timestamps to help you navigate throughout the video if you're looking for any section in particular. But with that said, let's get things started off with the Acrobat's race, standing stone, and stats. The Acrobat is a Khajiit, and this will have some important effects thanks to the Imperious Races of Skyrim mod. As a Khajiit, he will start out with these stats. He'll have 90 health, 105 magicka, 105 stamina, 0.5% health regeneration, 3.125% magicka regen, and 5.25% stamina regen, along with 300 carry weight. As a feline, the Acrobat will have a number of unique abilities. The first of this is Feline Agility, which allows the Acrobat to move 15% faster overall and to sprint 40% faster at the cost of 15% more stamina per second. Once you see the Acrobat's speed-related perk choices, you'll see how impossibly quick he'll be able to maneuver in and out of combat. The second ability is called Prowl, and this makes sneaking half as loud, and you can now do a power leap while sneaking with your weapons sheathed. The third ability is called Raelith Kaj, and this allows claw power attacks to deal bonus damage based on your stamina. We won't actually be using unarmed though, so don't worry about this too much. Either way, it's nice for role-playing a Khajiit, making your claws feel significantly more dangerous than a human with untrimmed fingernails. Finally, we have the Perception ability. This one can be unlocked only after acquiring 50,000 lifetime gold. That's quite a heavy price, but thankfully we will be playing a thief, so that will be a hell of a lot easier than it would be otherwise. Perception lets you improve your night vision and dampen non-essential sounds at will. The Acrobat will use the Shadow Standing Stone, and with the Aurora Standing Stones of Skyrim, this will grant you 2 extra abilities. The first is called Blur, which increases your movement speed in combat, and the second is called Shadow Step. With it, you can use the power of the shadow to instantly teleport behind a target a short distance away. As for his stat spread, the Acrobat will have 40% health purely to keep him alive, and then 60% stamina for a bunch of essential reasons. It will give you the stamina to perform tons of dual power attacks, as well as to sprint whenever you like, to perform the leap power, and many more reasons. Overall, we can afford to forego a little bit of health investment, as the Acrobat's best defense will be his extreme speed. Theoretically, with him moving so fast, you should be able to dodge the vast majority of hits that come your way. The Acrobat was born in Rimmon in northeast Elsewhere and was raised in an orphanage. Despite his efforts to remember his parents, where they were, or what had happened to them, he was unable to, so he accepted his life under the care of the Khajiit sisters who ran the orphanage. The children would pass the time playing games like hide and seek, and the Acrobat had a natural gift for it, winning almost every game. He could squeeze himself into incredibly small places, crumpling his form to fit into cupboards and chests. He lived in the orphanage for his early years, but was eventually adopted by a Khajiit named Ravius. Ravius was passing through Rimmon on his way to Cyrodiil, and he travelled with a large troupe of circus entertainers. The Acrobat was lucky enough to be selected by him. Meeting all of the eccentrics in the circus troupe was overwhelming at first, but the Acrobat soon found himself fitting in. He was taught to juggle, walk the tightrope, and basic acrobatics, and was soon embraced within the kinship of the troupe, whose chemistry was palpable. When the circus tent was erected and the locals flocked to watch the entertainment, the Acrobat fell in love with the atmosphere. At first, he was given simple tasks to perform on the outskirts, away from the center of the spotlight. Ravius was usually the one who drew the majority of the attention. Him and his beautiful assistant, a young Khajiit named Anzara, performed the impalement arts, as he called it, and that involved tying Anzara to a huge wheel while Ravius tossed knives in her direction, impaling the spokes of the wheel mere inches from Anzara's exposed flesh. Each time the knives struck the wood, the crowd roared. The Acrobat couldn't help but think some of them itched to see a slip-up, but his Ravius was too skilled, and he seemed completely unabashed by the immense pressure pressure of 100 watching eyes. After each show, Ravius took the acrobat's share of the profits. He was his father after all, and he always kept the acrobat well fed, so he had no complaints. As a pack of travelers, many of the entertainers slept in the open fields of an evening, though his father always insisted on sleeping within one of the wagons, usually with Anzara to accompany him. The acrobat pondered calling Anzara mother, but he thought better of it. The acrobat continued to learn under the many talented members of the circus troupe. Soon enough, he was juggling long sharp blades instead of apples, and he could even do it on the tightrope or perform a quick somersault while the knives spun through the air above him. More than anything though, the acrobat wanted to learn knife throwing from Ravius. His father continued to reassure the acrobat that he would teach him when the time was right, but that time never seemed to come, even on the long stretches of road between the cities. One day, Ravius called the acrobat into the confines of his wagon to talk. He was sure that this would be when he agreed to teach him knife throwing. When he entered the carriage and sat down, he noticed Anzara lying on the bed behind them, as if she'd just hatched some master plan. A wide grin stretched across Ravius's handsome face, and he told the acrobat of his proposal. He would teach the acrobat to throw knives, but only if he could pass some important test of skill. That night, Ravius took the acrobat into Skingrad. This was his first time visiting the city, and in the turmoil following the Great War, tomorrow's show had sold more tickets than ever before. He couldn't wait to perform in such a beautiful city. But it turns out Ravius's test was not preparation for the show, but something entirely different. As his father explained the plan, the acrobat couldn't understand how it related to knife throwing, but he didn't inquire further. He would do anything for Ravius's approval and admiration. They stood outside of a beautiful Skingrad home. It was late at night and there was no light except for a distant glowing of a guard's torch down the road. Ravius knelt down to his side and whispered the plan. The upper level of the house had a window open, presumably to let in some cool evening air, and the acrobat would need to put his skills to the test, showing the grace to scale the building in silence, to then slip in the window and take as much as he could without rousing the sleeping homeowners. The acrobat felt a sudden jolt of fear. If he was caught, the guards would lock him up as a thief. Surely father wouldn't expose him to such dangers, but he couldn't disappoint Ravius, so he decided to simply be flawless. That way he wouldn't get caught, and he'd get to learn knife throwing. He crept into the narrow alleyway between the two houses, blending into the shadows as the guards strolled past. Then he hopped up using the two parallel walls to climb. When he was high enough, he shimmied onto the windowsill and made his way inside. Right in front of him, in a large luxurious bed, complete with a flowing silk canopy, slept two wealthy nobles. The acrobat, staying low to the ground, edged across the room. Beside the sleeping imperial woman sat a lockbox. She was shirtless in the bed, wearing only a silver necklace with an ornate ruby pendant. If the contents of her lockbox were anywhere near as extravagant as that necklace, Ravius would surely be proud of him. So he carefully lifted it under his arms and made his escape. As he'd predicted, Ravius was almost jumping with joy back in the carriage, and Anzara's eyes shone with the reflection of the jewels inside the box. The following day, Ravius and Anzara announced they were leaving the troupe. The acrobat was shocked and insisted he go with them. He didn't want to be orphaned again, and Ravius still had so much to teach him, like he'd promised. Anzara didn't seem as pleasant as she'd been before. When the acrobat awoke the next morning after sleeping out in the twilight of Massa and Secunda, their carriage was gone. Ravius and Anzara had left without so much as a goodbye. The acrobat cursed his own naivety. His father had used him. With nowhere else to run, the acrobat sought out the Thieves Guild and joined their ranks. The various skills he'd learned in the circus translated perfectly, and he was instantly profitable to the guild. So much, in fact, that a man named Brynjolf had requested he join up with the Skyrim Guild. It was a long journey north, but the acrobat took solace in the knowledge that he was actually wanted now for the first time in his life. So when we join up with the acrobat, we will pick the member of the Thieves Guild alternate start, and will therefore be able to pick up where the backstory left off. Years as a circus entertainer may have ended sourly for the acrobat, but that time was not wasted. His skill set will line up perfectly with his duties, as he can sneak masterfully with a light and agile step. This also translates into combat, where thanks to his light armor ordinator perks, his Aurora Standing Stone, and his Imperious racial abilities, he will be unbelievably fast and dexterous, wielding dual daggers with deadly precision. Only rather than juggling, he'll be slicing jugulars. Due to his upbringing, he will happily help others, but will be skeptical when others try to use him for their own selfish gain. If he feels that he is being used, he will be quick to suss it out. As an orphaned youth, he will also feel a strong connection to the children in the Honor Hall Orphanage in Central Riften. In fact, when his duties in Skyrim come to an end, and he has made his fortune with the Thieves Guild, raising a family with the Hearthfire DLC would fit his role-playing perfectly and would be a nice conclusion to his character arc. As for factions, the Thieves Guild is of course the main choice, but the Dark Brotherhood will also align with his skill set and playstyle quite nicely. While that is true, it is also harder to justify their actions when compared to the Thieves Guild, so if you follow this questline, it will feel much more like work for the Acrobat than passion. The Dawnguard DLC is a good choice, and you can side with either faction. If you feel that a pure morality fits the Acrobat better, side with the Dawnguard, but conversely, the vampires and their affinity for stealth works well too. Being a vampire is absolutely not essential for the character though, so the choice here is yours. The main story provides some serious benefits to the Acrobat's playstyle, and shouts like Whirlwind Sprint will make him even more elusive, so this is definitely on the table along with the Dragonborn DLC. But now that we have the Acrobat's backstory, roleplaying and faction choices, let's get into his skills, spells, perks, and his overall playstyle. The main skills for this build are one-handed, light armor, sneak, and alchemy. Thanks to Ordinator, we can really focus on a few essential skills and really go into detail, but before we do that, let's quickly run over the shout you'll need. As you can tell from the skills, the Acrobat won't be using spells, but the Whirlwind Sprint shout is perfect for your nimble, hard-to-hit playstyle. Use it to zip around the battlefield, closing distances and repositioning before your enemies can react. But with that out of the way, let's get into the Acrobat's essential perks. From the day the Acrobat stopped juggling apples and made the switch to sharp, limb-severing blades, he has been an expert on daggers. He knows the precise weight and center of balance for every blade he holds, as anything short of perfect would result in some serious side effects, and thankfully that transitions perfectly into his combat, operating with astounding dexterity, grace, and most importantly, speed. From the one-handed skill tree, take one-handed mastery 2 out of 2, furious strength, overrun, bite marks 3 out of 3, savage 2 out of 2, twin fang, swaying cobra, death adder, coiling python, wandering warrior, ravage 2 out of 2, man of war, and unleash the beast. Overrun works well with your quick moving playstyle, as it gives you a 50% damage bonus when performing a sprinting power attack. The higher their health, the higher the damage. And we have a number of perks which focus specifically on beefing up your dagger attacks. Savage will reward you for attacking fast. Every consecutive hit you land within 2 seconds of the last will be 50% more powerful. 2 ranks of Ravage will make your dual-wielded attacks 35% faster, and dual-wielding daggers is fast enough already, so this will make you incredibly quick. Add to this Man of War, which gives you plus 1% attack speed and damage for every hit you land, stacking and lasting for 20 seconds, and you'll be a blur. Next up, we have light armor, and nothing else will do for the Acrobat, who uses his deafness to get the best of his foes. Heavy armor would slow him down and make his attacks sluggish and lethargic, and while going naked may give him the best movement in theory, he's no fool. Lighter armor offers the perfect balance, and with the Ordinator perk tree for this skill, there are some really awesome possibilities. From this skill tree, go for light armor mastery 2 out of 2, as a leaf, light armor fit, keen senses, unhindered, into the maelstrom, initiative 2 out of 2, lightning strike, windrunner, evasive leap, wild and free, fight or flight, survival instinct, and tempting fate. As a leaf will stop you from being staggered in light armor, so when you're on the move, no one will be able to slow you down. Unhindered ensures that your light armor doesn't slow you down and weighs nothing in your inventory. Windrunner is another great one, moving freely as it allows you to move 10% faster in combat as long as you're wearing only light armor. Invasive leap gives you 1 second of invulnerability every time you jump, so utilize that with your movement as well. Then we have wild and free, which decreases incoming damage by 50% while you're sprinting. With survival instinct, if you take an unblocked attack, you gain an additional 10% movement speed for 6 seconds, so you can move even quicker to evade or riposte with your daggers. Tempting fate is the cherry on the cake though. This perk gives you a massive 20% movement speed boost if you are not blocking when someone attempts to power attack you. If you successfully dodge the attack, that boost lasts until combat ends, or until you take a hit from another power attack. While his light feet may have been taken advantage of by a poor role model in the past, the Acrobat is somewhat grateful for that because his circumstances have trained him to be the perfect thief. He can traverse tiled rooftops and carpeted hallways with equal grace, merging with the silence and leaving no one any the wiser when he escapes with a haul of priceless valuables. And guess what? That also works in favor in his combat, dispatching of many enemies before the fighting breaks out. From the sneak skill tree, grab sneak mastery 2 out of 2, spot detection, lightfoot, silent roll, dynamic entry, infiltrator right behind you, disengage, clean escape, behind enemy lines, shadow warrior, sneak attack, assassin's blade, backstab 2 out of 2, problem solver, cloak and dagger, and laughing ghost. Some of these perks will be brilliant in combat, and a few of these include silent roll and dynamic entry. This combo allows you to perform rolls in stealth mode, and when you do, you gain 40% extra attack damage for 3 seconds. Unsurprisingly, the Acrobat takes naturally to silent rolls. Another good pick is Shadow Warrior, which you may recognize as it allows you to enter sneak mode in combat for 2 seconds of invisibility and then the ability to reinitiate combat. Assassin's Blade makes sneak attacks with your dagger 1% more powerful for every level in your sneak skill. Lastly, Laughing Ghost gives gives you an interesting new power, allowing you to teleport behind a foe to execute a sneak power attack. Finally, we have Alchemy, and this is what gives him a little bit more of an edge in battle. More specifically, it adds lethal poison to this edge. When the acrobat swipes and slashes with his blades in a flurry of lightning-fast blows, all it takes is for one scratch to debilitate a foe. When his poisons mix with the blood of his targets, there are a multitude of possibilities: paralysis, frenzy, fear, or just good old-fashioned damage. With Alchemy, those who wish the acrobat harm have a laundry list of shit to worry about. From the Alchemy skill tree, take Alchemy Mastery 2 out of 2, Experimenter, Green Thumb, Pure Mixture, Poisoner, Bottomless Cup, Alkahest, Amplify Lethality, World Serpent, and That Which Does Not Kill You. Pure Mixture will remove all negative effects from your potions and all positive effects from your poisons. World Serpent works well with your Dragonborn powers, so when you use your Whirlwind Sprint, you will gain a special power for 15 seconds. If you take a hit during that time, you can counterattack and deal 50 points of poison damage to the target each second for 10 seconds. And then That Which Does Not Kill You is an interesting one. Be prepared with health potions, as taking this perk will poison you, making you take 150 damage per second for 60 seconds. If you survive though, you gain a permanent 25% bonus to all created potions and poisons, plus 3 perk points. And with all of those skills and perks, this is how you'll use them in the Acrobat's playstyle. In combat, he is a flurry of dual power attacks and sprinting power attacks with those poisoned dagger strikes. His daggers will be poisoned all of the time, and he will get a lot of use out of the poisons due to the perks. Other than that, it's sneaking and picking off enemies, being careful until he is detected, and then he becomes a whirlwind of sharp blades, using all powers and mechanics at his disposal, including the Whirlwind Sprint Shout enhanced by the World Serpent perk. As for gear, we'll be using the Mercenary Armor, Boots and Gauntlets from the Immersive Armors mod. You should be able to find this easy enough by looting from a bandit. Lots of bandits in Skyrim will wear this gear once you have the mod activated. Your weapons of choice will be Mehrunes Razor in the left hand and the Blade of Woe in the right hand. The only other thing to remember is a healthy supply of poisons. Use all kinds and change them up as you see fit. If it will help you out in a battle, use it. And there you have it, guys. Subscribe to Fudge Muppet if you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more, and if you enjoyed the video, give a thumbs up to show your support. This has been our latest modded build, the Acrobat. Don't forget the timestamps for the video navigation can be found just below in the description, along with the mod list and links to our social media accounts and our Twitch channel. We have a brand new Skyrim series starting very soon, and if you want to see it first, be sure to join us on Twitch. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I've been Scott, and I look forward to nerding out with you again in the next one.